only those of the participants and not necessarily those of 31 UHF. This program deals with controversial topics discussed in a sometimes highly charged atmosphere. It may not be suitable for all family members. Viewer discretion is advised.
Let me tell you something. Give me a second. Let me tell you something. There comes a point when a situation gets so damn big and so dangerous that the only way to deal with it is with the toughest, meanest, scariest, most rotten tactics you can find. I'm going to tell you, that's where we are tonight, all right, with drugs in our country. But if we don't eliminate drug importation, sales, and use, our society is down the tubes, pal. That's why tonight I'm going to call, and the rest of the audience, I think, is going to call for some radical medical solutions. Maybe the death penalty for the big dealers who are out there. All right? Hear this one. The confiscation of all worldly possessions of so-called recreational drug users. You gotta get a little bit tough. So if you can't get tough, then the tough will never get going. Let's go. Some of those stories. Let's set the stage here for just a second, all right? If you watched part one of this show, you know where we're starting to go. You're not going to find out where we end until the end of the show. But I want to start with some stories that maybe even some of our most ardent supporters of legalized drugs, such as these two gentlemen, will recognize as certainly something that people should give some thought to. We have a gentleman with us here. I'm going to let him introduce himself. You see the basketball, that'll give you a little hint. When he stands up and you see his height, that gives another hint. When you hear his story and the stories he has to tell, maybe that'll take away all the hints. Al, would you introduce yourself?
My name's Al Zolak. I'm a former professional basketball player. I used to travel around the world with the Harlem Globetrotters on the team that got beat all the time. And we were 0 and 245, and I thought I knew what losing was all about. Myself, I didn't drink, do drugs, or anything all through high school, college, and professionally. After my professional basketball career, my mother died. I tried to escape the reality of her death by turning to cocaine for a week or two, and my 2-week escape turned into 7 years of living hell, where my habit grew from being free because a so-called friend said, "Here, this will help you." Then I realized that it was expensive to buy. I turned into a big-time drug dealer, and my own personal habit grew from being free to up to $1,000 a day at times. So I just want to say that I'm lucky to be alive right now.
What do you do right now?
I speak in schools to kids from anywhere from kindergarten to seniors and even in colleges, expressing my experiences with drugs. We're always taught that experience is the best teacher. I'm not proud of my past, but I'm proud as hell that I'm doing something about it. And the program I have is called Do Hugs, Not Drugs, for a reason, because this is what saved my life, was a hug. After I reached my bottom, I went over to an adult's house crying like a baby after a girl I was engaged to broke up with me. And I realized that I wasn't only killing myself, but I was killing the people who surrounded me and who cared about me and who loved me. And when I went over to this adult's house crying like a baby, it still affects me now.
Still bugs you.
Yeah, she didn't give me no big lecture. She didn't yell and scream at me or nothing like that. She just reached out and she gave me a hug and she said, "That's okay." And she took me for help. And the rest is history.
How many years ago was that?
That was over 2 years, 3 years ago. You know, I just live my life for today, so I don't even like to live in the
people
past.
since you've run into some. You've run into some pretty horrific stories.
I'm hearing stories from kids every day. You know, I have a beautiful family in Philadelphia, a black family who I became very close with, the Yates family. They had a 5-year-old child last year who was in a candy store. Where else should a 5-year-old child be? And 2 drug dealers got into an argument, pulled guns, shot at each other, missed each other, and one of the bullets went through 5-year-old Marcus Yates' head. But it also hit his younger brother, who is now going through some severe problems because every day when he walks into school, he cries because he misses Marcus. I'm very proud because this is not a racial issue that we're fighting. It's a people issue. And the Yates family, who just had a baby girl, asked me to be the godfather of it, and I'm proud as hell to be it.
Luke Dahmer is with us tonight. He was with us on Section 1 and didn't get a chance to say much. He's heads up an organization called Citizen Against Drugs. Luke, what about it? Should we declare war on the drug dealers?
Yes,
and
we
fight
should.
them any way we can?
Because that's what we're in. We're in a war. People are being killed. Policemen are being killed by these drug dealers. It's really a war.
But look, it's a war that we, the great paper tiger, and I hate to say that about my own country, that we, the great paper tiger, ain't fighting.
That's right.
We have slogans such as "Say no to drugs."
That's a
all right?
joke.
You say that to a 14 or 15-year-old kid who's making $1,000 a week selling drugs on the side.
It's a joke.
I have a song that's on my new album called "Hey, Mr. Drug Dealer," which I wanted to sing on the show tonight. They won't let me sing it because it has the word SOB in it and ASS, all right? And that is denigrating to use that kind of language about a drug dealer. Now, this is where our society, this is where our society is gone, all right?
That's the damn
our
liberals.
Society is gone. They're saying, well, if you do that, it's an open license for people to use that kind of language. Let me tell you, pal, any guy who kills our kids by selling drugs is every one of those things and all the scum you can run across his pus-ridden face.
You're right. And more than that, these two pukes over here.
Well, we haven't heard that yet. Sit.
I'm Hitler. You see my mustache?
Sit down, Mussolini.
Yeah, shut up. In a normal society, pukes like this would be put in an institution.
Well, wait a second. We don't exactly know what you say these pukes stand for.
I mean, they're standing for
But we haven't heard
freedom,
them.
what they go, free drugs, legalized drugs, right? Okay, I had a
Well, let's find out. Wait a second. Wait a second. Wait a second. Before we torpedo the ship, let's find out if it's an enemy. Sir, let me introduce this gentleman. He's with the Libertarian Party. He was on segment number 1. His name is... Zip it. Wait a second. Let me introduce you, please, to Francis Beretta. Francis, your position, please, if you will, sir, on the legalization of drugs, and why?
My favorite.
Why? Why? Let's hear why.
There are many reasons to favor it, but I think the most important one is this, that the laws against drugs actually promote drug usage. The best possible example is, imagine that 14 or 15-year-old kid looking at Miami Vice, an episode of Miami Vice, and he sees that the drug dealers live in $10 million glass-walled houses overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. That's because drugs are illegal. That's
Well, let's
because of the
imagine
tremendous
also
profits.
then Francis, all right, Francis, you don't mind me calling you that. Let's also imagine those kids watching another program and seeing some guy murdering someone in a big house. Should we therefore legalize murder too, because it took place in a big house that someone wants to live in and they have no right to live in?
Lord, it's pretty obvious that the prevailing opinion is against legalization. So rather than try to argue you into it, I'm going to make a prediction.
All right.
I'm going to ask you to try to remember the prediction for the future. I predict that if we use more force, more police, a more intense war on drugs to try to quench the problem, we will simultaneously have more drug use, more profits going to the dealers and to the pushers, and we'll have fewer civil liberties and more of like a garrison state.
Well, now let's zip it. Let's go with this so we can hear what's going. Wait a second. Let me hear from Dana Beal, who is also pro-legalization, but perhaps with a different twist. Dana?
Well, Mort, at this point, I'd like to announce the fact that we're having a demonstration in New York, May 6th. We're marching up to Congressman Rangel's house in Harlem from Washington Square Park. We're going to have about 10,000 people. You can come and stop us if you want to try.
10,000 airheads from doing drugs. But because of we're going to your lungs. Now, can I use this as an example?
Wait a minute. Let me finish, okay? We're taking a position for safe drugs. The number one problem with drugs, Mort, is no longer addiction, it's
What's
AIDS.
the safe drug? What's the safe drug?
One beer is safe.
Huh?
One beer is safe.
Okay.
One joint is safe.
Okay.
Drinking half a pint of hooch is not safe. You're going to engage in unsafe
Are you
sex.
saying, wait a second, let me hear you.
Leads to
Let me hear, let me hear
leads
your...
to three leads to cocaine leads to crack, and crack leads to these kids dying. And I'm sick and tired of shit. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Tried it. And don't do it.
Let me introduce, zip it. Let me introduce Police Lieutenant Mike Cesario of New York City. Lieutenant.
How are you?
How are you, sir?
Good. Let me
Would
just...
your job be made easier with the legalization of drugs, sir?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Legalizing drugs is like playing Russian roulette with a loaded revolver.
All right.
It would create more addicts, and we got enough of these screwballs around already.
Yeah, by the same time, Lieutenant, by the same token, sir, we also know that the police, in many instances, will see a crack buy going down, and they won't be able to do anything about it because the police department is so afraid of corruption, they only allow certain units of their department to get involved in that.
Yeah, but there's a misconception about drugs and law enforcement. Let me point out a couple of specific things that I think would probably bring the matter clearly.
All right, sir.
The answer to drugs, there's only two answers. The main answer is swift and sure punishment. That means more jails. You have to have a place to put them. In 1988, in New York City alone, they made 78,000 felony drug arrests.
What were there, about 2,500 incarcerations?
Of the 78,000, only 5,000 spent one night in jail. That's because there's no room in jail. It's not because the justice system is lenient. It's because there's no room. That's the first thing we have.
I would suggest that we don't have enough jail cells.
That's the first thing we have to do.
We don't have enough jail cells. Let's turn these guys loose to live with these liverheads. You know, and stay with them.
They turned the rapists
Let me bring out
Zip your Velcro lip.
Let me bring out another point. Half of the federal inmates, and that's countrywide, in every federal jail, 50% of those people are there because of drug-related offenses. 50% of every inmate in a federal institution is there because of drug trafficking. Now, does that tell you something?
Tells me there's a lot of money in it. Tells me there's a lot of money in it. Sure. Legalize it. What are the other 25% in for? Burglary, probably extortion, rape, murder. Should we legalize that too?
Absolutely not. We have more room for those people now.
Oh, I see. You know what? Even after all this, some people still don't believe drugs kill. But we're about to find out. Robert Machado Jr. was a hero cop. His dad was a cop. He was killed just a few weeks ago, and you probably saw that special show that we did. Your son, Mr. Machado, was a hero. All of us know it. Unfortunately, we never honor our heroes until after they're dead. Would it make you feel any better to know that the slime who killed him, the drug bums who killed him, were frying their butts in the electric chair?
I would love for that to be, but unfortunately for me, my family, that if Governor Cuomo passed the death penalty tomorrow, it wouldn't affect the outcome of my son's case. Death penalty is not retroactive. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to get them to override the governor in hopes that I may save another father from sitting in my chair.
Well, Mr. Byrne tried to do the same thing for his son a year ago, and we all felt sorry and gnashed our teeth and cried and commiserated with Mr. Byrne. He, too, has faded into the media junk pile where the media places people after they've brutalized, used, sucked, and bled everything out of them. But I'd like to see that happen for you, for your sake, to help other parents. We've got a gentleman with us tonight, Otto von Rugens, who has been on our program a number of times. Otto, if we had a death penalty, don't you think the guy who shot Robert Machado would have thought twice before pulling that trigger?
I don't think that there's any deterrent in the death penalty.
Why did the United States government institute capital
He asked me the
punishment
question.
for
He didn't ask
hijacking
you.
airlines? And what happened afterwards? Over the United... It stopped,
Look,
didn't it?
the death
What
penalty
about
is
the
not
killer
a deterrent
that
to
lives
a
and gets out again and kills
drug-crazed
again?
killer.
There was just one release that killed another
Drug-crazed
cop.
killers
What are you talking about?
do
It's
not
a
have any
deterrent.
fear of the
Suppose
death penalty.
we try to impose it on you.
Well, let me
You're
ask
not afraid of the death penalty.
Are you saying, Otto, is what you were saying, is there are such... Wait a second,
You want to
folks.
find out what a maniac? You keep opening your mouth, you'll find out real quick. Look at
Is what you were saying...
you. You do? Well, if you want to get your ass kicked, you keep it up. You're nuts.
Is what you were saying, Otto...
Yes, I am. I'm serious about you
Is
jerk.
what you were saying, then, Otto, that the profit motive... Zip it now a second. Are you saying that the profit motive is so overwhelming that a death penalty just wouldn't stop this?
Well, it's not only the,
Herbie, let me
it's
zip it.
not
Let me
only
get
the
answer.
profit motive, it's also the fact that you're dealing with people who are not of a rational mind. It is not that they are capable of being afraid of a death penalty. These are people who are walking around with semi-automatic weapons, automatic weapons, shooting innocent bystanders, children, etc. They are not afraid of death. They live every day with death. They're on the edge, and they are placed there because of the illegality of drugs. These people would disappear. They would go and vanish if
Please, go ahead,
drugs
Robert.
were legal.
Please,
I would like
let
to
me hear from
simply ask you.
Otto, let me hear.
Honestly, I have a question
Otto, let
for
me
you,
hear
Mr.
from the police
Machete.
officer, and then you can ask.
Young man, just answer
He
your
wanted to
question.
answer your question, then you can ask him.
Okay.
Go ahead, Robert. Zip it now. I want to hear this.
You're saying, in effect, that you don't agree with the death penalty because it doesn't deter it. And you're saying that people who are on drugs who are doing this are so high that they don't know what the hell they're doing. Yet you're here today to say that we should legalize drugs and to make everybody that way.
I didn't say
what the hell is the matter with
You're
you?
putting words
Well,
in my
let me
mouth.
hear. Let me hear, please.
I'm
let
here
me hear what the man
tonight.
says.
I'm here tonight to actually ask for a ceasefire in the war on drugs. Not legalization. I'm advocating
Let's
time out.
hear the damn thing for a minute.
Let's understand, first of all, if you would answer this question honestly, if drugs were legal, would your son be alive today?
If they were legal?
If they were legal at the time of the incident, would... I'm asking a question. We're talking about his son went after someone because they were dealing drugs. They wouldn't be dealing drugs if drugs were legal. Now, the question is, would your son be alive today
wait a
if
second.
drugs were
Al,
legal?
all the rest of you. Now, zip it for 1 minute. Zip it for 1 minute, please. Let me ask you this. You're asking for a ceasefire. You're taking the middle ground. In reality, do you favor the decriminalization of drugs?
Of certain drugs.
Which one?
Okay. I think, and also,
Which
again,
ones?
penalties.
Which ones?
I favor decriminalization of marijuana. I favor, for crack, that unbiased scientific research be done to determine whether it is the drug, whether it is the actual violent personalities of the individuals that use the substances, or whether it is the illegality that causes the crime.
Now listen to this mentality, all right? And here Otto wears a button that says, yes, I mind if you smoke. Curtis.
Morton.
No,
Wait a second, Curtis, let me hear from, let me see, Robert.
Man never answered the question.
I have two things.
No, and you never would.
I have two things to say. Number one, he says let's decriminalize marijuana. Because,
Why are you
because
evading the
marijuana,
question I asked?
Sir, if you just give me an opportunity, I'll answer your question.
You
Okay?
had anyone in your family die from the problem?
He says let's decriminalize.
Don't be the first
My
yourself
sister
tonight.
was married to a drug addict who died before it was
She
fashionable.
could get no better than you. That's why she did it. So,
He said let's decriminalize marijuana and then coke or whatever else. If that's the case, it's because we can't control it. Okay? Then let's decriminalize burglary, and let's decriminalize rape.
We're not
and
talking
let's
about
decriminalize
violence.
murder. Okay? You want to know, Morton? I'll tell you the truth. You know what really bothers me is I sit here and I look behind this young man, and I see young kids. Look, and they're smiling and they're laughing and they think that this is funny. Sorry, son, this is damn serious.
It's very
This is
sorry
life and death. Okay?
that your son
when
had to
your
die.
freedom
unfortunately-
imposes on my freedom, fat boy, my freedom's coming first. All right? We'll be back in a minute. Curtis Sliwa, home base with us. Curtis, a few weeks ago, the first drug enforcement agent in New York was killed in the line of duty. 4 bullets pumped into his head, all right? His wife told the press that every casual drug user in America was responsible. Do you agree?
Wrong.
No question. No question. You know, I got to get this aside. Otto here is sort of that psychedelic tie-dyed hemorrhoid with chromosome damage. And you notice, Mort,
Have you released your spastic
that little
Cohen?
gathering of people that he's brought, they all tend to look like, you know, yuppie whites from the suburbs. Mort, in all the public
You guys
housing
look like the
projects of
Nazis with your
America,
red caps.
right now, from Chicago to Houston to Atlanta to New York, you'd figure people in the pit of the inner city, predominantly black and Hispanics, would be the first one that would want to wave the white flag and say, legalize it so I don't have these drug-crazed, Uzi-toting, psychopathic killing machines outside my door.
First of all,
You'd have figured
if you
that
knew
the
your
father of
facts,
a slain police officer would
the
say, legalize it so
DEA
we don't have to see
arranged
any
for
more
Gus
sons killed.
Ferracci to
And
be
yet,
released. Shut up. Did you hear me?
and yet, trapped as they are behind bars on their windows, multiple locks on their doors, pit bull terriers, black and Hispanic
Shut
inner
that
city
armadillo's
people.
microphone off. Go ahead.
The people whose own sons and daughters have become crack-crazed mutants, they're the first ones to say, don't give up, Mort. Fight the war and use every ounce of your energy to destroy high-tower, ivory tower intellectuals who give a good reason for legalizing it, but don't have to suffer from the cesspool-like conditions.
You don't know what you're talking about. It's not middle American casual drug users. It's
Let's
the
talk
DEA.
for 1 minute.
Curtis,
Let's talk. Hey, pal, wait a second. Wait a second. I don't care what he said. I don't care what he said. I'm out here, not him. He's standing back there with a bald head. All right? Let me ask you. You started off as a recreational drug user.
Yes.
You become a heavy drug user?
$300 a day. I
$300
robbed everybody. I didn't care who it was, my mother, anybody. You're saying legalize it. You're going to support them. You're going to give them the money when they're up to $300 a day. You're going to, no. Why is it going to be real cheap?
You're paying to supply the drug dealers. You don't even realize who you were paying the money to.
Lots of money. General Tobacco.
Take your glasses off so I can see your eyes.
No, let me tell you.
Listen, he won't have $1,000. He won't.
Why won't they have $1,000? There are 60 people.
As soon as you're quiet, I'll answer. Ready? Ready? Please, just give me 10 seconds.
And
Please.
after you answer that, sign my son's death certificate when he goes back to using.
Hey, my brother died through drug
Well,
use.
then
Let me just answer your question. Here's why it won't cost $1,000 a day. If it's legalized, it'll be really cheap, and you don't have to... It's only expensive if it's illegal!
Another white Anglo-Saxon Protestant ethic of saying, let's because we can't control it, let's because we can't beat it, let's legalize it. Go.
I'm just talking about marijuana, number one. I don't want to legalize heroin. I don't want to legalize crack. I don't want to legalize cocaine. I'm talking about marijuana. If you legalize all those powder drugs, those are dangerous drugs. There's two categories of drugs. There's hard drugs and soft drugs. Holland, listen, Holland, please, can I keep trying?
Go ahead.
In the country of Holland, they make a distinction, please. In the country of Holland, they make a distinction between soft drugs and hard drugs. Marijuana and hashish are classified as soft drugs.
In the country of Holland, they surrendered 6 days later. All right? So there's another gutsy country. Wait a second, let's get back up here. Whoa! Step back! Back up here. I want to introduce you. I'd like you to meet Professor John Flynn. Now, please go easy on... Now, please zip it a second. Please go easy on Professor Flynn. He has been ill for the last few weeks. Professor, with your plan of legalization, wouldn't the number of recreational users increase, especially among the young who don't know any better?
Yes, I believe they would. That's true. I don't know for sure that they would, but I believe they would.
What is your plan, sir?
Well, I think what you have to do is find out where we're starting from. At the present time, almost all of the deaths that are drug-related are caused by the fact that drugs are illegal. Nobody questions this. I don't think anybody really questions this. You only have about 400 deaths a year from people, from the effects of drugs on your body, from the medical effects of drugs.
Not to name the police and the people. You know.
But, you get them from the Surgeon General and from the department. No, these are true. These are right. These are right. Just start from the way things are.
Can't hear you.
Start from the way things are. So now you have 320,000 people dying every year from smoking cigarettes, and you have 400 people dying every year from the effects of drugs. You have 200,000 dying from the effects of alcohol. You have 400 only dying from the effects of drugs. I'm not saying that that wouldn't increase, but it wouldn't come anywhere near the same effect.
Come here. Laura!
You moved to Hell's Kitchen. You live in an alcoholic family and tell me about damage on the psyche and the hearts of people who have to live with it, all right? You tell me about...
Go up and see him. Go up and see him.
Tell me, sir.
I will tell you. I will tell you.
Do you live in Hell's Kitchen? Do you live in a drug-infested neighborhood?
The point that I'm making is that the health problems that are associated with drugs are much less than the health problems that are associated with tobacco and alcohol.
Now,
$100
when he
billion
gives you
a
these
year.
statistics of 400, he's not telling you about the innocent people who get killed by the drug dealers, by the drug junkies.
Those are caused by the illegality of drugs.
Oh.
If they were legal, then you wouldn't have drug dealers. Then you wouldn't
There
have
are
drug
enough
dealers.
legalized
Well, a lot of
drugs. We
women
don't
die
need
in rape
anymore.
because it's illegal. In other words, you're saying let's legalize rape.
No, not
because
at all.
You
What
are.
I'm saying,
You
very
wouldn't
simply,
have
it's not
to
a good
kill a
argument.
person if it wasn't
I've
illegal.
heard you make that argument a number of times. It's not a good argument at all.
Raphael, most
What
of the...
we're saying is that the medical problems
This
are
man
much
has
less.
made absolutely the same amount of sense he and his kind have made for the last 50 years in establishing an ineffective welfare
No,
problem.
you guys
and all these things.
you guys have made drugs illegal since 1920, and look at the result of it.
Let
Look
me
at
ask
the
you,
result
is there
of
a
it.
solution for drug addiction? There just may be. Here it comes. You know, just a moment ago, we heard Professor John Flynn quote us statistics about 330,000 people dying from cigarettes, 200,000 from alcohol, and only 400 from drugs. I believe those are erroneous facts.
Good professor.
May I hear those from you, please?
A good professor, in his zest to show one side of the story, fails to tell you that Professor Jensen had done a study and shows exactly what he's saying to be the opposite. We all are aware that you can take facts and figures and turn them any way you want, and that's exactly what this young man did.
What has Dr. Jensen, Professor Jensen, said? Has he shown it?
Sorry, Mort, I can't quote it to you.
All right.
You know,
but
I'm saying it's the opposite.
It's
total
more
opposite
than 400, more than 4,000, more than 40,000.
Correct. Correct. Thank you.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Let me introduce the gentleman up here, Dr. Lichtenstein, who, of course, is a very prominent gentleman who has worked very closely with some very important people who have studied drugs, drug addiction, and the potential curing of addiction. Is it possible to cure a crack addict, Doctor?
Impossible to cure the disease of addiction and or alcoholism. It is possible to arrest the disease a day at a time, and it doesn't matter, Mort, whether it's legal or illegal, because the crap feels good. And if it feels good, they're going to do it.
All right. So, where's Bob? Is Bob with us? Bob, I want to come to you, all right?
Yes,
I'd like to introduce you to Bob DeBraga. I don't know how many of you people are familiar with Dr. Ravisi's clinic. I think Bob can probably catch us up on it. You work with Dr. Emmanuel Ravisi.
Yes, sir.
And he has been with us on this program, an esteemed 90-plus-year-old gentleman. You and Reverend Massey behind you have seen the results of the doctor's work. Tell me now, can you cure a crack addict?
I think it's cure is the wrong word. I
right.
think that with all due respect to truth, cure is as long as we can keep a drug addict free. That I absolutely believe. But I want to get down to the real theme. The theme is government. In 1971, Richard Nixon signed the War on Cancer that gave billions of dollars to the National Cancer Institute. In 1971, a lot of things happened. We began to look at drugs seriously. I see a great many parallels because I am a cancer patient, as you know, Mort. I was supposed to die 11 years ago, and here I am tonight on Ravisi's treatment. We have... Hang on a second. What I see are incredible parallels on the war on cancer and the real war on drugs in terms of dollars being thrown down a rat hole, people making a lot of money, in this case researchers in one direction and drug dealers in another. But nobody's talked tonight about the patient, and I want to talk about the patient.
And let me incidentally, when you were a patient, when you were, you say you were supposed to die 11 years ago,
yes,
he was declared terminally ill, no possibility of cure, by the regular establishment. Am I correct?
Yes,
All right,
nine
go
months,
ahead,
terminal lung cancer, metastatic at diagnosis.
All right, sir.
Dr. Ravisi, in the 70 years of clinical research, a 92-year-old MD, probably the greatest mind in biochemistry today alive in the world, developed in 1971 a product which was used on over 2,000 drug addicts. It was called Bionar, it was called several names, but it did work. It detoxified the addict almost within hours. It was a 3 or 4 day program. What it didn't do that methadone does is it allowed the man to go back into life along
Did not
with his,
addict you again.
It did not addict you. It was not a toxic substance, Mort. We have this available today to every drug addict in America. We cannot get it approved by the FDA because of all the reasons that you folks in this audience can imagine. But the help for addicts is here. It's sitting on a shelf. It's 20 years old. It's not toxic. It helps everything. And the cost is absolutely almost nothing.
Raphael.
Along with the social other half, the head trip, which you've got to do with addicts, just like cancer patients. There's two sides. But it's here
Raphael,
and
you
it
work
exists.
with addicts all the time. Your hotline works with them. Does that sound like something you could use?
I don't know much about what the gentleman is talking about. All I know is that the youth involvement in reaching people and trying to secure help for the young people is doable, and I know NA works. I know methadone does not work for the large population. I know that.
Matter of fact,
How about Dr. Lichtenstein? Just a second. Dr. Lichtenstein, if you knew that Dr. Ravisi's treatment worked, as Bob Massey attests to it, as it does, and I believe that Dr. Lichtenstein's treatment works, would you be in favor of utilizing that?
I would use it in the beginning. The problem is, as we know in Ellenville Hospital detox, and from the thousands of patients I've seen detox, the initial problem is the drugs. The main problem is the way people think. And if they continue to think selfish, they're not going to be able to stop using, no matter what you give them in the beginning.
There's nobody that's going to really disagree with what you're saying.
Okay.
It's a 50-50 deal. But let me just say one thing about Dr. Ravisi. Dr.
I
Ravisi's
think
treatment for detoxification.
What I'm saying is, if your treatment works initially to detox, far out, wonderful. What is absolutely necessary is something, as like I say, we use at Ellenville Hospital Detox. We use love, we use Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and we teach people to love themselves again.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Quickly now, Reverend Massey, quickly, sir.
All of this is good. You know, love is great. But we have individuals who are addicted, all right? Out there in the street, robbing, stealing, mugging, doing everything in their power because of the fact that they are addicted. You're talking about one thing after treatment of addiction, detoxification, right? Dr. Ravisi has on the shelf a medication that detoxes an individual far better than that of methadone or any other substance. Why? Because it's non-toxic.
The problem is the drugs make people think they're healthy. They need to want to get help. How in the hell is a 14-year-old kid who's selling $5,000 worth of crack a week going to walk into your clinic and say, give me your solution so I don't make my $5,000 a week?
No.
Very good point. Reverend Massey, we're going to take a break here for just a second. We're going to take a break, but that is a good point, all right? It's a very valid point.
And let me tell
but
you
one way you do it is by making sure that the recreational user suffers also, including the 14-year-old kid. All right? Every single thing you have, including your glasses, are taken away from you if you're a recreational user. The audience next again. Stay with us.
If you live in the tri-state area and would like to be a part of Mort's studio audience, write to Morton Downey Tickets, 9 Broadcast Plaza, Secaucus, New Jersey, zip code 07094. And please include your phone number.
All right. Wait a second, Herbie. I saw this gentleman from High Times working his way up. What's up this time?
Just what you said at the end before the break about recreational drug users, punish them, and even the young ones, the 14-year-old. What do you propose for a 14-year-old recreational drug user? Life in prison?
No, I propose maybe 25 hours of community work every single week, working on repairing buildings, working on helping elderly people, things like that.
Good.
Go ahead, man.
I agree with the, AA and NA because, recreational. I started out with recreational drug abuse and alcohol abuse when I was 15 years old. By the time I was 25 years old, I was almost dead in the grave. And if it wasn't for self-help programs, I would be dead right now.
Herbie White, say something intelligent to me, Herbie.
All right.
Say something in 30 seconds, pal.
Okay, I think the drug business, like any other business, it works that at the beginning, the dealer sort of gives it away, and then he makes his profits later. So what we got to do is, if the dealer gets a kid hooked, take that kid away, even give it to him. Kill the dealer. And then kill the dealer. Kill him. You want to kill him legit? You want to kill him illegit? Right on the street, kill him.
Well,
legitimate people
that's certainly a somewhat radical approach, Herbie. Okay.
Radical enough.
Here.
Hi, Mort. I just want to say, I've been, and I'm proud to say it, I've been in recovery for 4.5 years now. I've been total abstinence from all drugs and alcohol. And these jerks over here, you talk about freedom. I've never had more freedom than I've had in the last 4.5 years. I didn't know what freedom was. I didn't know what freedom was until I put down drugs. I didn't know what it was, and none of you obviously have it in your family and have been through the pain and agony that the addicts themselves go through, and that the people, well, then you would never be standing up here.
Let me hear, Curtis.
Very quickly, the true heroes in America today, and they don't receive the recognition they should, are the therapists, the people who reclaim human life. I think regardless of what your point is here this evening, whether you're for legalization, against it, for use, non-use, one thing our country has to do is create those treatment centers for those people out there tonight, all across America, who want help. You're a hero, sir. You're a hero. Those two gentlemen, the Reverend's a hero. I don't have the patience within me to deal with people who come and have a disease and need to be cured. They're the true heroes in America today.
Thank you, Curtis.
Everybody's talking about legalizing drugs and the pain that the family lives through. For 34 years of my life, I've lived around alcohol and drugs, and no one can take those scars away that are still there. I'm not out to shoot the addict or to kill him. I'm out to rehabilitate him and rehabilitate the family that's so dysfunctional. And freedom, you talk about freedom. You have the freedom to go out and vote for who you want. You have the freedom to go to college. You have so much freedom. And you want to legalize drugs.
You know, she just made a good point.
She
just made a good point. A little while ago, I said, let's confiscate every worldly item of an addict or the recreational user so that we could make them pay too. Let's confiscate those things, and after they've come out of a treatment center and they are recovering, let's give them all back. That's the reward. We'll be right back. All right. I'll tell you what. A lot of good points made on both sides of the argument, but the important thing is you want to cure the addict. You want the addict to have an opportunity to recover. Let me make this offer to you, Raphael, and to your organization. This show will pay for the Dr. Ribisi treatment for any of your addicts, any who come in. We will pay for them. We would like you to test, not just test, but to report back to us exactly what the results of this detoxification is, because we're not using toxic materials. And we'd like Dr. Lichtenstein to be your medical consultant on this and report back. Any comment? No?
Would I get whatever resources from WOR-TV to help us carry out such a study, evaluation?
Yes, sir, you certainly will.
Let's go for it. Now, what I want to know, John, espérate. Okay. What I want to know.
Fighting already.
What I would like to know is, is this particular drug, medication that the doctor's talking about, is it legal?
You'll have
Because
to, for testing, for testing purposes, it is, all right? Just like everything has to be tested before the FDA allows it to have their imprimatur.
But the FDA allow us to utilize it.
Right, and the way...
We will make